235.
Hello, hashtag First TV family, and welcome. It's week 235. I'm Aaron Mack, and it is the day before an election, a nationwide election in the United States, and it is me tonight, as well as my st- neighbor across the street's dog. It's me and my neighbors across the street's dog. All right. And of course, Kevin always sends us well wishes. And my, it's not yet the song. It is time for the random question generator. And the random question is what What is the most thoughtful gift? Oh my gosh, I have a story about this as well. What is the most thoughtful gift you has ever given? And so, remember when cell phones first came out? To my fellow older millennials and older, and just people who remember when cell phones first came out, like everybody was advertising them as being sold for 1 cent. And my mom was my mom was never a fan of the whole cell phone craze. She was like, I go to work and I work my tail off. I do not need the company to be able to contact me any and everywhere I may be. So she was not a fan of the cell phone thing. But I thought it would be cute. And I remember with my grandmother, we went to a store and I got my mom a different gift, right? But we went to the store and I was like, oh, cell phones for 1 cent? I can get my mom a cell phone? That would be so cool. So cool. And then I find out, oh, it's 1 cent, but you have to agree because that was back in the day. Now they work the contracts in such a way that you buy the phone, but you pay for the entire ridiculous cost of the phone. And back in the day, it was, well, you buy the phone, but you have to have a contract. Nowadays, they say, no, instead of having a contract, you just buy the phone, but you'll be stuck with us for the length of the contract. Anyway, as far as the gift, I remember I didn't get that as the gift. And later on, I went home and I think I just mentioned it in passing to my mom, like, you know, I wanted to get you a cell phone for this occasion. But it turns out, and actually, this is before she expressed her deep disdain for the whole cell phone thing. But I was like, yeah, I wanted to get a cell phone for you. My mom was like, really? Oh, okay. Well, and I was like, yeah, like the store was selling it for just 1 cent, 1 penny. And my mom was like, oh, okay. All right. So you were going to get me a gift that was 1 penny. So it wasn't the most thoughtful gift, but that was a gift that I thought of getting. And I guess thought enough to realize that, oh, this is kind of one of those, this is going to develop into the new age scam that we all use. You know, I was just going to explain that yes, Yes, I finance my phone. I know, people, but it's like it's the same as having a contract, and I I don't it ends up being the same amount that you would pay for the phone if you paid in cash. It's not like financing a car, you know? So it's a little different. And I, whatever. I'm also in that game with financing a phone. I don't, I, wait, my famous thing. And swallow the key. So, my new song this week is none other than, ooh, I'm so happy about this, 2023's new release remix of Lil Mo's song Forever, although they actually spell it out Forever. On Lil Mo's Meet the Girl Next Door album, her second album, it was entitled the number four, Eva, EVA. But this is entitled FOREVER, Forever, Light Feet Remix. And it is 2 minutes of happy reminiscing for me because it takes me back to, I still remember when the original version of that song came out when I was in college. And I used to love, I know, y'all, I'm sorry. I reminisce so much, so much. And I used to love going on super long walks, and I'll get back there again. One day, I'm going to, not just one day, but one day I will get back to that point and just continue on for the duration of life. Yes. Okay. I used to love going on super long walks, and I just remember falling in love with that song on a super long walk because I'd go on super long walks with music in my ear. No, I remember I first fell in love with that song through the radio because I was on that super long walk, and it seemed like every single radio station, because that was in DC. I went to Howard, y'all, and every single storefront, because when you go closer to downtown DC, it, at least that's what it was. I'm not sure what it is today, but the different storefronts would all like play music and everything, and it seemed like everybody was playing Lil Mo's song Forever. And I was like, oh my gosh, this song is getting so much play, but I love it. And I think that subsequently led me to get her second album, Meet the Girl Next Door. And I fell deeply in love with that. And you all already know my story on Lil Mo. So I don't need to go back. I have a billion stories. But I think it is beautiful how, yeah, my fellow millennials and Gen Xers who remember loving this song are getting to have flashback memories of the song in a new modern interpretation. It's amazing how changing the tempo of a song can really change the sound of the song to an extent, because it's like he took some of the best parts of Lil Mo's Forever and sped it up the tempo significantly. And you see, if you look it up on YouTube, a lot of people are doing I guess it's the Light Feet Challenge, and that they have some sort of dance, or people love to dance. Yes, they there's some sort of dance for it, and people do it and stuff, and it's things. So hashtag Verse TV family. So the titles are hashtag Wendy Help at Prince X Amies, hashtag Hey Shore TV 235 at Evan Cronin, hashtag Queer Confirmation at Brain of Reddit _ and hashtag Purposeful Timeline at Amos Johnson Jr. And then, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to keep on reading these things, but Cerebral TV is Cerebral TV 235 at Mike Machero, at Heidi _Ann _DeVito, at Emergency Resilience, and the live mic tea is coming from none other than the legendary Mariah Carey, at the legendary Mariah Carey. All right, y'all, are you all ready to get the show on the road? I'm talking to you all. Let's do it. Share, subscribe, and share again. Thank you so very much.
Hashtag Wendy Help at Prince X Amies, hashtag VerseTV 235A.
I have good gaydar. Oh, yes. Don't test me, Norman. Okay.
There's this really cute guy at the gym, and basically, Wendy, I'm just trying to find out whether or not he plays for my team. And how do I find that out without offending him?
Ask him how you doing. How you doing?
How you doing?
Okay. I know my people.
How you doing?
Clearly, sir. Look at the brooch. Hello.
How you doing, Wendy?
Of course.
Hello, Wendy. I'm Cameron. How you doing?
Of course.
How you doing, Wendy?
Of course. Clearly. How you doing?
How you doing, Wendy?
Clearly. Girl.
Tried it.
So you're coming out of the closet on a popular daytime talk show? Welcome out. How you doing?
Hi, Wendy. I'm Xavier. How you doing?
Yes, you are.
Hi, Wendy. How you doing?
I don't know. I'm not sure. See, sometimes women need a course in gaydar. They need to teach that in middle school. How you doing?
Gone like the wind.
I have good gaydar.
All right. So, I will do the timer. Okay. So, Wendy Williams' daytime talk show was like a bit of a movement in the gay community, I guess. And I'm also thinking about a same-gender loving guest who did hashtag Verse TV at this point a couple of years ago, I think, or at least a year ago. How he was talking about how he went to the Wendy Williams show right before he, not right before he came to hashtag Verse TV, but he was doing the Wendy Williams show or going to visit the Wendy Williams show before or after coming on with us. Either way, like the Wendy Williams show was like a movement for us gays. And I'm not gonna lie, like hearing her say, "Welcome out," like that was very, I actually kind of completely loved that, you know? I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like actually sounded like she was genuinely happy for him. Now, I will say this. I'm not, I feel that I've heard Wendy Williams say at some point back when being in the closet was a much more common, popular choice for some. I seem to remember her saying that no, she does not have any problem with gay people. She does not like people who are in the closet. Now, we can feel different ways about that because different things, right? But I think that was her thing. She just didn't like people who were in the closet. So that's part of the reason that she was so excited and gregarious, so excited with welcoming that other dude out and giving people the how you doing thing, you know? Like she liked people being open and honest. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think that people should be forced out of the closet. I do think it's good that our society is getting to a point that many more people can be openly out. And I will say also, my mom used to really like Wendy Williams because we lived in New York and my mom particularly loved New York. She would love to claim and cite New York as the source of her everything began in New York. And it's like, I get that. Technically, though, she spent an earlier part of her childhood in an earlier part of her youth, childhood in Georgia. And then she moved to New York a little bit later in her early 20s. And she fell so deeply in love with New York and everything New York. And she got the accent and all of that. And I used to do it well because like that was just how my mom spoke. But it's been a while. Anyway, oh my gosh, don't get me to sounding ridiculous. But yeah, she enjoyed Wendy Williams way back in the day when Wendy Williams was on WBLS out of New York City, which was cool. And I remember I used to have a guilty pleasure in listening to Wendy Williams because Wendy Williams would out some of my favorite celebs. And again, I don't think it's good for people to be dragged out of the closet, right? Even in this day and age, I don't think that's a great thing. But as a kid, that was part of my excitement of listening to the Wendy Williams show, to hear who's gay now. And honestly, as somebody who would sing and had sincere aspirations of becoming a singer and such, and even was a part of a singing group of which all of us were same-gender loving people. But we were like, and it's so interesting, like we were right on the cusp of that. But we had all concluded that we were just gonna all go back in the closet once we become famous. And we were like, yeah, we'll make sure that Wendy Williams can't out us. We'll get rid of our Adam for Adam. We'll get rid of our men for now. Remember that? Anyway, oh my gosh. But yeah, we'll get rid of those things so Wendy Williams won't be able to out us. Anyway, All right. My my wrap up, my wrap bit, I don't know. But two things can be true. Maybe it's my nostalgia with my mom that has me like feel like, oh, Wendy Williams was a movement. Thank you. And at the same time of me acknowledging that Wendy Williams was a movement and did some good for the gay community, I will acknowledge that she has said some very not good things. Now, she has apologized for such things, and it's like, okay, well, I'm not gonna let that ruin her legacy, if you will. So, yes, she has done some good, some very good, and some bad, you know, and I'd like to feel the good outweighs the bad, but that's just me. Anyway, the hashtag VerseTV family yes or no question. Do you think that Wendy Williams has benefited our gay community at all? And again, my answer is yes, because of everything I just said. All right. Hashtag VerseTV family. I'm going to ask you all, you can leave this in the comments. Are you ready for the next topic? Yes? All right, let's go. Share, subscribe, and share again. Thank you so very much.
Hashtag HeyShoreTV235 at Evan Cronin _ hashtag VerseTV235B.
The real reason that you're single is not because you're ugly or not attractive. It's actually because you're too attractive and you're out of everyone else's league. They're afraid you'll reject them. Real.
All right, for real. So, my quick short T response, sometimes yes, sometimes no. And personality may play a role in some connections having trouble. Let's just be honest. And yes, it is, although it is a studied fact that sometimes the most conventionally attractive people can stay single for quite a while because of the fact that people are hardwired to avoid rejection, and people are hardwired to go for other people they feel they can obtain or feel that they can be with. And sometimes, like the super duper attractive people, nobody's going for them because nobody thinks they can go for them. And it's not until the considered to be lesser attractive person goes for them that they're like, oh, somebody's going for me and treating me like a really nice human being. Yes, so that's real. But again, sometimes the rejection is deeper than just the physical. That's a thing. Anyway, hashtag VerseTV family, are you all ready for part C? Yes. All right. Share, subscribe, and please share again. Thank you so very much.
Hashtag queer confirmation at brain of Reddit _ hashtag VerseTV235C.
My girlfriend broke up with me and called me gay over a hypothetical question. Basically, I told my girlfriend I would go down on a guy for $1 billion. Now she wants to break up. Last night my girlfriend and I were in bed talking about a mutual friend of ours, and his bad luck with women. She went on to say he was so physically unattractive that she wouldn't blow him for $1 billion. I thought this was extreme and told her that he's actually a handsome enough guy, and if she wouldn't do it for $1 billion, I certainly would. Hell, money is money, and in my eyes game is game. And it would just be a few minutes probably, considering my mouth skills. I'm a guy myself, and know what guys like, so it would be a few minutes of glazing his pee-pee for $1 billion. What fool would turn it down? I was laughing, but now she wasn't. She stared at me and asked if I was serious. I said yes. I told her that's a life-changing amount of money for something people do every day. She sat up and said that nobody who is straight would do that for any amount of money. She asked if I was gay. I said no, but she didn't believe me. She asked if I would give her brother some neck for $1 billion and I said, I'd give my own brother neck for $1 billion. She got angry and went to sleep. I thought that was the end of it, but this morning she told me she didn't want me to be at her place today and she needed time to think. She said she saw a future with me but is worried that I would eventually leave her for a man after years of lying to myself. I tried to convince her that my response was normal, but she wasn't having it. I texted my friend and asked if he would give me some neck for $1 billion. He replied only if I don't have to give you any money. My girlfriend said he's probably gay too and it makes sense that you hang out with him.
Well, yes, $1 billion is a life-changing amount of money. And he explained it would probably be for a short period of time. So to get paid like $1 billion an hour, considering that we currently live in a society where the average person makes an average of less than $30 an hour. So it's like, yeah, I get what he's saying, okay? Yes. And putting together my answer for all of this today, I was like, well, where in the world did that insecurity come from for women in terms of like always thinking, oh, the man is gay. He might be gay, blah, blah, blah. But I sort of realized that that comes from Hollywood's promotion and over promotion of this concept. You know what? I'm not even going to blame Hollywood because there was definitely a time where like late night news was covering it like it's a thing, but it is a thing, but covering it like it's a big thing. But the whole demonization of DL men, and by the way, there are DL women as well. And I remember, quick side story, because I have enough time, with one of my former partners. And we even did a YouTube video about this. This is lost in the deep in the sauce, but there is or was an app specifically for DL people. And I remember we were we got it just to look, you know, like it was Grindr or Scruff, but for DL people. Grindr or Scruff or OkCupid, but for DL people. And I remember while he was going through it, because he downloaded the app, I saw there was a part of it that said females. And I was like, what do you mean females? What does it mean females? And actually at first I thought it said favorites. I was like, favorites? What? It's like, no, it's females. I'm like, females? What do you mean females? He's like, women are DL too. You just don't hear about them as much. You hear about the DL men, but there are also DL women. And that's a thing, you know. Again, I think that our world needs to reach the point that we understand that some people are different. Not everyone is the same, okay? And that's okay. That is okay. So you don't have to worry about being DL. And that goes back to Wendy Williams' thing. You know, you don't have to worry about being DL. Welcome out. But unfortunately, there are still people who wish to cause trouble for the LGBTQIAP plus community. That's bad. Okay? Anyway. Yes, some people do live lies. That's true. That is a true thing. And some people live lies and try to convince themselves that they're not lying to themselves. That's also true. And some people fear that yeah, I had a comment on when the person in the video was explain, or the bot in the video was reading what was written and said that, you know, I know what I'm doing because men do it. Men know what other men need. It's like, I don't like it when people give that explanation because I don't feel that's accurate. And I've never been with a woman. I'm a gold star gay, actually, a platinum star gay. But for those of you who are in the know, you know what I mean when I say that. But for those of you who are not, look it up. And those of you who don't care, we'll keep moving. And I will say, yeah, on the show Insecure, I do remember the episode where Molly was talking to her boyfriend, and she was like, somehow the question came up, have you ever dealt with somebody of the same sex? And Molly was like, well, yeah, in college there was that time or whatever, but yeah, you know, I'm straight. And she asked her boyfriend, or somehow it came up for him, and he was like, yeah, you know, in college, but, you know, I'm straight. And Molly, like, literally broke up with this dude because she was like, you're gay. You're gay. You know, women can go back and forth, but men, no, you cannot. And he was like, that's not fair. That's not right. You know, and speaking of the Walton and Johnson show, again, I keep bringing them up, y'all. I'm sorry. But speaking of the Walton and Johnson show, I still remember years ago. Because part of what intrigued me about the Walton and Johnson show is one of the main hosts was an openly gay person. And that was back in the day, the 90s, early 2000s, you know? And it's like, I like particularly listening to the openly gay guy because I thought it was cool. And I remember Walton or Johnson made the comment about how, yeah, women can go back and forth in the sexuality thing. Bear in mind, Walton and Johnson are hetero and married with kids. And one of them was saying, yeah, you know, it's interesting how women can go back and forth in terms of sexuality, but with men, it's like you suck just one and that's it. You know, you're pretty much stuck. But as far as that thing, and I'll go into my one sentence wrap up. I'm not saying that everyone should have their price for anything. And, oh yeah. Yes. So, as for the $1 billion thing, yes, I'm not saying that everyone should have their price for anything. And particularly in a world where I remember the story that I heard at my barber shop of a prostitute who was flued out overseas by a man who had her, and I don't want to say again she's a prostitute, so like who cares? But what he had her do was get underneath one of those toilet seat things, open her mouth so that he can defecate in her mouth. So it's like, in terms of people having a price for anything, no, there are some things that you don't necessarily have to have a price for. Now, no, because even if he flew her out on a $1 billion trip, like that would be, maybe that's where I would draw the line. That's just me. Yeah. Oh, but that is the point that he made, because he was like, it's not like it's this absurd thing. What makes it difficult for you to hear is because I'm a man, but it's not like it's this absurd thing that's never done. There are people who suck dick every day. And even there are people who do it every day, but there's also someone in the world who sucks dick every day. Somebody is getting their dick sucked. So, but not every day. It's not every day that a prostitute gets flued out to get defecated in their mouth. That's true. Okay. So the difference is in being offered $1 billion to suck dick. That's a more reasonable thing, even if you're not into it, to say, you know what, $1 billion, I'll do it. It's not the same as anyway. Hashtag Verse TV family, yes or no question. Do you think the woman in the video, the woman represented by the writing in the video, which AI read, do you think that she was correct to fear her man being willing to take the $1 billion to suck somebody's dick makes him gay? And my answer to that is no, because also, if a gay man was paid $1 billion to suck a woman, would that make him straight? No. So, again, sheeple. Anyway, I know I didn't go into the whole sheeple thing, but yeah, the DL fear, sheeple. We're like sheeple, okay? Because we all just follow along, follow suit. Anyway, I am not going to say that. So, are you all ready for the next one? Yes, let's do it. Share, subscribe, and please share again. Thank you very much.
Hashtag Purposeful Timeline at Amos Johnson Jr. Hashtag VerseTV 235D. Text, you are dating too long. hashtag marriage, hashtag Christian, hashtag love, hashtag dating.
I have a 3-month and 1-year dating rule. Within 3 months of dating somebody, you should be able to get to a no. So after 3 months, most people know that it's a no, that you shouldn't go further, but you keep going. But after 3 months, if it's still a yes, then you move to the year mark. At the 1-year mark, you should be able to get to a yes or no there too, right? All this dating for 2, 3, 5, 10 years is a waste of time. Only take 3 months and then 1 year. 3 months to a no, up to 1 year for a yes.
All right. So, yes, I like this. I like the way it is it when it's playing. Anyway, but yeah, I like it. I'm pretty sure I like that reasoning. And I've that time frame. I feel that it's reasonable, especially as a 40-year-old man. I'm not a kid anymore. I'm not. I don't have time to just waste like I used to. Now, the truth is, as the younger person, you don't have time to waste either, because before you know it, you'll be older. But don't waste your time. Now, I'm not saying rush into something ill-prepared. I am saying, though, I feel that that's a reasonable amount of time. Because, I remember my old marching band director in high school. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something along the lines of, people come into my class and they start the year off like being all sweet and nice and happy and hi, professor, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then as the year goes on, that's when you get the real them, and you get the scowls and the that kind of attitude. And he was like, don't lie to me. All of that to say, yeah, over the course of a year, you should be able to gauge a person. I once heard it said that you should have a love for all seasons to sort of see how they change through the seasons, the ebb and flow of them through the seasons. But like he said, it's not like you have to do it season and season and season and season and season and season forever. 5, 10 years. He's like, that's ridiculous. That's unnecessary. It's not to say that it never works. It's just that it's not necessary. And in the comments, somebody was like, yeah, Mr. Amos, but I'm totally making an offensive dialect for that person. But they were like, yeah, Amos, because I think that's his first name, if I recall. But they were like, yeah, Amos, I've been watching your stuff, and I remember that you explained that it took you and your wife 3 years to get married, and here you are talking about 1 year. What? And it's interesting how when somebody tries to call somebody else out and they don't fully understand the situation, and what he said is, yes, it took my wife and I 3 years to actually get married, but we had decided on the yes before 1 year. Before the 1 year mark of us dating, we had decided on the yes. And Amos is Amos Johnson Jr. I think he's a pastor or something, but he's also a PhD. And he explained that it was important for them, what they wanted to do before getting married is to go through the whole marriage counseling thing, and they planned a wedding, which took a lot of planning. But again, he was like, we had decided yes before 1 year. It's just that it took 3 years for the rest of everything to come to fruition fully. Anyway. Oh, yeah. One of my favorite songs by Christina Aguilera is Love for All Seasons. So yes, seeing somebody through all 4 seasons, seeing the personalities. I just thought of something. Anyway, y'all. And somebody else left a comment, and they were like, because of my age at this point, because of my age at this point, I am a 3-hour, one week kind of person. And it's like, yeah, different. Oh, yeah. And another person commented, well, my partner said that, quote, I don't put timelines on relationships. And Amos himself got in the comment and replied with run, exclamation mark, particularly when people say, I don't put timelines on relationship. And I get it, because he's like, that is a person who will probably drag you around for that 5-10 years of dating. Anyway, ultimately, everyone is unique, and a person's sincerity can be hard to gauge, but honesty is the key. That keeps it simple. KISS it. Kiss it. Keep it simple, simply. It. Okay, whatever. The hashtag VersTV family yes or no question is 3 months, 1 year to marriage commencement ever reasonable for you? My answer is yes. That at the end of the sentence. All right, topic E. Oh my gosh, y'all. Share, subscribe, and share again.
Hashtag CerebralTV235 at Mike Machero at Heidi_Ann_DeVito at Emergency Resilience. Hashtag VersTV235E.
So the evangelical megachurch pastor Andy Stanley just hosted a conference where he appealed to the gay community, inviting a same-sex couple to preach and apologizing for the harm done to the gay community. But simultaneously, he says that his church will still endorse a traditional sex ethic. Marriage is between one man and one woman. Now, this feels confusing, and what strikes me is that it seems that Andy is torn between the traditional interpretation of the text and his own conscience and moral judgment, which seems to want to embrace queer people. Now, first of all, there are plenty of great biblical scholars who make solid arguments that the text does not actually condemn gay relationships. But for me, even if it did, the Bible itself shows us a pattern of setting aside those passages for the sake of love. Jesus says, man wasn't made for the Sabbath. Set aside that rule and love your neighbor. Jesus says, I know there are Bible verses about stoning adulteresses. Put down those stones and love this woman. God says to Peter, yes, I know that there are hundreds of verses about food laws in the Old Testament. Set those aside and love this Gentile person. Don't you dare call unclean what I have called clean. God says to Paul, forget the centuries of rules around circumcision. Embrace the people of other cultures that do things differently. Whenever there was a tension between loving people or following the Bible, God was always on the side of loving the person. And in this moment, the LGBTQ community does not need a half-hearted acceptance and an apology. They need our full repentance and our complete embrace.
So everybody knows that famous photo, but nobody talks about this guy. Turns out his name was Peter Norman, and he was one of the best runners that Australia has ever produced. Now, he knew that the other athletes were going to do the Black Power salute, and just before he went to the podium, he asked a friend of his for a pin that he could wear that basically says, "I stand in solidarity against racism." For wearing that single pin, he was completely ostracized from the Australian sporting community. When he came back to Australia, they ridiculed him, they made fun of him, they removed him from all competitions, and they basically took his entire career away from him. He was never invited to another Olympics again. Till his dying day, he never apologized for what he did. He said, "You know what, I'm proud of standing up against racism, and I'd do it again if I had the chance." You know, we talk about being an ally and what that means. Well, here's somebody who sacrificed his entire career to stand up for what was right. He's in the most famous photo in the world, and hardly anybody knows his name. But now, you do.
One of the worst parts about trauma is that it does not die with the person who experiences it. It actually leaves an imprint on the person's DNA and their psyche, and it's passed on to their children and their children's children, and maybe even their children after that. In 2014, researchers took a group of male mice and they exposed them to a floral scent that was similar to either cherry blossoms or jasmine. And when they exposed them to the scent, they simultaneously shocked their little feet to create fear and anxiety associated with the scent. And after so long, they didn't even have to expose them to the shocks. They just had to expose them to the floral scent, and it would yield the same results of anxiety and fear. They then took the sperm from this original group of mice and artificially inseminated a group of female mice that never had any sort of exposure to them otherwise. And when they exposed their pups and their pups after that to the same scent that the original group of mice were conditioned to associate fear and anxiety with because of the shock and the trauma, they responded the same exact way. Which means they didn't even have to be directly exposed to the shocks to associate the fear with the scent that the original mice were conditioned to be afraid of, even if they didn't even meet the original mice. So now think about the things that are happening today, and think about the things that have happened in our history and how those events have transversed over generations, even though many of us weren't there to directly experience it.
A learning point is everything that has been said. Also, FYI, a cute learning point. Pups are what you call baby mice. That's one of the names for them, pups. Anyway.
Hashtag Live Mike TV 235 at the legendary Mariah Carey. Hashtag Verse TV 235F.
All right. So for the Live Mike TV, I will say, I love that was a live mic. Mariah Carey was singing, and yes. And there was a time that I used to think Mariah Carey was 98% lip syncing, because largely related to her performance of the song Forever in Japan. I think it was the Japan show. She was singing Forever from Daydream. And I don't know what it was, if she was, I don't know what, but she was singing and the microphone was doing this thing, and she was singing like, forever, forever, ever, oh, I'm forever. And the audio wasn't changing. And I'm like, wait a minute, she's absolutely not singing She's not singing what I'm hearing right now. Like, she might be singing, but she's absolutely not singing what I'm hearing right now. And my darling, forever, you will always be. Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. But I recently saw a clip of Mariah Carey performing, and the clip was entitled Mariah Carey, A Time That the Audio Went Out. Because listening carefully, you can tell the difference between somebody who's singing into a live microphone and somebody who's not. And I think what Mariah Carey would do is sometimes she would have it set up in such a way that the audio, she's singing live into the mic, yes. She also would have an occasional undertrack for a note here and there to enhance the belt, if you will. And for a performance on Good Morning America, that went out or whatever. So it was strictly her live vocals. And she was singing one of her songs that had some true belts and some stuff in it. And she did it. She did that dang thing. And I was like, yes, Mariah. And when she finished, she was like, oh. And she had that look on her face like she was pleased that she got through it and did it so very well. But she was not happy that the audio wasn't enhancing the way that it should have. But I loved hearing a raw Mariah Carey on that raw mic. And also, post-pandemic or in the pandemic or whatever, there have been a number of times that I've heard Mariah Carey just sing live. And it's like, she really does still have it. And that's cool. And speaking of legend, I didn't say legend, but one of my friends, one of my Cleveland friends, posted, I think he said, in reference to Mariah Carey's tour, that there is no way that I'm not going to see her when she comes in town. When a legend comes in town, I must make it there. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could, but she's coming here on a Thursday, and I'm out of PTO at work, so I won't be able to. But he will, and I'm sure the show will be phenomenal, fabulous, because Mariah Carey is exceptional. She is. And as far as, oh yeah, so he's going to see her. I was also talking with an Uber driver about it, and she was like, yes, Mariah's coming to town. So, yeah, it should be a great show. I wish I could join you all. Rocket Mortgage Arena, I think. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah. Also, as far as that particular performance that we just played, one thing that I loved so much is the reverb in her voice from when she was singing was the same reverb in her voice when she talked to the audience. Thank you so much. That was the same, because that's proof that she was singing into a live mic. Mariah Carey's just got it. Mariah Carey's got it like that. She has the vocals that at the end of the sentence, and it's not like sometimes people who sing, and this was a really, I don't know why that this seemed to be, I think it's just where music is headed. But in the pandemic, like live performances, you'd hear people sing, and they would sing in like 320 kilobytes per second audio quality. But when they would say, thank you so much, it would sound like a totally different thing. It'd be like, what? Anyway, Mariah Carey's got it. And hashtag First TV family. See you next week. I'm Aaron Mack. This is week 235. And check us out. Email me, Aaron Mack, AARONMCK, at BERSTEAV.com, or you can find us all over social media, hashtag BERSTEAV, and at sign BERSTEAV. Is that the ampersand? No, the ampersand is and. Okay, the at symbol, at BERSTEAV, all over your favorite social media. Talk to you later, hashtag First TV family. Peace. Hashtag VerseTV.com. And 178 seconds. Stay blessed. All right.